When wars end, the world often celebrates with parades, speeches, and promises of peace. But for millions of families, war never truly ends. Long after the gunfire fades and the flags are lowered, there is a silence that remains, a silence filled with unanswered questions, unoccupied dinner chairs, and names etched into stone instead of spoken aloud. War veterans who never came home are more than statistics in history books. They are sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters whose lives were paused forever on distant battlefields. These veterans stood at the edge of fear and duty, knowing there was a chance they would never return. Yet they went anyway. Their sacrifice is not measured by medals alone, but by the empty spaces they left behind. Every war leaves scars on nations, but the deepest scars are carried by those who wait endlessly for a knock on the door that never comes. Before they became heroes, these veterans lived ordinary lives. They laughed with friends, dreamed about futures, and held hands with people they loved. Some were barely adults, still learning who they were, while others had already built families and careers. When the call to serve came, they didn't all go willingly. Many were afraid, uncertain, and unprepared, but they went because duty demanded it. On the battlefield, these ordinary people performed extraordinary acts of courage. They shielded comrades from explosions, carried wounded soldiers through gunfire, and stood their ground when retreat seemed impossible. Many never had the chance to say goodbye. Their last moments were spent thinking not of glory, but of home, of familiar streets, warm meals, and faces they hoped to see again. That hope, for so many, was never fulfilled. For every soldier who never came home, there is a family forever changed. Parents who aged overnight after receiving a folded flag. Spouses who learned to raise children alone while holding onto fading memories. Children who grew up knowing their parent only through photographs, medals, and stories whispered on anniversaries. The pain of loss does not fade with time. It simply learns how to coexist with daily life. Birthdays are celebrated with a missing voice, holidays with an empty seat, and milestones with quiet tears. These families carry a burden the world rarely sees. While nations debate wars and politics, they live with permanent consequences. Their grief is a silent form of service, a lifelong sacrifice that deserves recognition equal to the battlefield heroism of their loved ones. Many war veterans never came home because their bodies were never recovered. Lost at sea, buried under rubble, or vanished in foreign lands, they remain missing long after war's end. Their families live with uncertainty, clinging to hope even when logic says otherwise. Memorial walls bear their names, but no grave exists where flowers can be placed or prayers whispered. These missing heroes haunt history in a different way, symbols of wars so brutal that even closure was denied. Nations may move on, but the unresolved absence of these soldiers lingers like an open wound. Their sacrifice reminds us that war doesn't just take lives, it steals certainty, peace, and endings. Remembering fallen veterans is not about glorifying war. It is about honoring humanity. These individuals did not die for headlines or cinematic moments. They died believing their sacrifice mattered. Forgetting them would be the final injustice. Monuments, memorial days, and moments of silence are not enough unless they are paired with understanding. The world must remember the cost of war not only in numbers, but in stories, names, and faces. When we remember those who never came home, we challenge future generations to think carefully before choosing conflict. Their lives become warnings as much as inspirations, proof that freedom, peace, and security are never free. To honor war veterans who never came home is to make a promise that their sacrifice will not be meaningless. It is a promise to speak their names, to teach their stories, and to protect the values they gave their lives for. As long as their memory lives on, they are not truly gone. They live in the freedoms we enjoy, the peace we strive to protect, and the tears we shed when we remember. The world may move forward, but it must never move on without them. Because behind every victory lies a loss, and behind every flag lowered in silence stands a hero who gave everything and never made it home. Loudly crying faced dove,